Hi, and welcome to our Objective 1, Chapter 1, How People Make Decisions. Tactics that we're going to accomplish here is we're going to look at that we all face trade-offs in all the decisions that we make. And we're going to look at a principle called opportunity cost, which is the cost, it's the highest value of the alternative that you don't take when you do something. So in these two principles, this is really the foundation of really your introduction to economics here. Okay, we often say in economics that there's no such thing as a free lunch. So let's say some friends or acquaintances invite you to lunch. And you go, they say, we'll pay, you can pick the place wherever you want to go. And these acquaintances you don't know particularly well, and then you start to eat with them. And so you might get a conversation like we have at this particular table. So we faced a trade-off. And the question is, you got a free lunch, right? But was it really free? It wasn't, because you had to give up your time. Maybe you had to spend some time with someone you didn't particularly like, or learn throughout that interaction that you didn't like them or want to spend time with them. So when we think about these things, it's like a blind date scenario. You go on a blind date and you're not sure what to expect, but you think, okay, I'll get a free meal, I'll get to go out, dress up, those kind of things. And then it doesn't turn out very well, and so you know, maybe one of your friends fakes a phone call to you or something like that, because all of a sudden the value that you placed on the meal was less than the value of the time that you wanted to spend doing something else. So recognizing trade-offs becomes really important when we're dealing with the idea of scarcity, time, for instance, or money. So here are some trade-offs that you guys face, as well as trade-offs that we see in society and government. So these are all things that, you know, you guys particularly are thinking about all the things, all the roles that you fulfill throughout your life. So you might be, and let's see if I can make this one. You might be an athlete. Oh, stop that. I hate when this stuff goes. Okay, pointer options. Just a minute. Give me a second. You might be an athlete. You might be a sibling. Let's go there. You might be a child. You might be a worker. You are a student. So all of these roles are vying for your attention. And the question becomes, which one wins? My camera's all kind of wonky here. Hold on. There we go. That makes me feel better. All right, there we go. So which one wins? And which one wins is determinant on the value that you place on that activity versus the value that you place on the others. And sometimes one wins, another one doesn't. I was a parent of a younger child when I was doing my PhD, and sometimes student won. And sometimes child won because she had to do something that I needed to be there for. So when we think about these things, those competing roles that we play in our life, and we have to fulfill one sometimes at the cost of another. Okay, here's an example of society facing a trade-off. We use an example, there's a really old problem in economics called guns and butter. And it says, well, should we have more guns or should we have more butter? And how we choose to spend tax dollars is either on the hawks, guns, or the doves, butter. And so when we talk about this efficiency and equality, if we believe more guns, then we automatically don't spend as much on butter or food, those kinds of things, social programs. If we say no social programs, then we automatically don't spend as much on perhaps national safety. We also look at the difference between efficiency and equality, and this will be something that you'll probably confront in your first exam. So when we talk about getting the maximum benefit of these scarce resources, remember all resources are scarce. And when we look at prosperity. So I like to look at it this way, that efficiency is the size of the economic pie. How large is that pie? And you can think of the economic pie as tax dollars that the government can spend. So is it really low? Is it much bigger? And so on. Imagine I could draw a circle. Hey, that one wasn't too bad. And so how are those tax dollars going to be apportioned? So the size of the pie becomes the efficiency. The equality is how the pie is divided. So is it divided unequally, as we see here? I'm going to try this. Let's see. Let's see if I can do it. Oh, look at that. Wait for it. Oh, you stupid thing. Okay. Or is it divided very equally amongst all groups? So when we look at this, we could say, okay, there are some trade-offs that we can see here. In it, for example, reducing incentives to work and shrinking the economic pie. But if we have more people that are economically viable, we all could have a better standard of living. But when we say all, is that really absolutely true, that all parties are affected to the same extent? So here's the efficiency equality trade-off. And what we want to do is to take a look at, okay, public policies where we are looking at the distribution. So this is how the pie is divided. Okay. Whereas knowing that we might have greater equality but reduce efficiency. Okay. Or we may increase efficiency, but we do so at the cost of equality. And again, we have to recognize that everyone faces trade-offs. And the trade-offs that they measure, because that's an individualized decision, whether you're going to do the role of an athlete versus the role of studying, and how do those two roles impact one another. One of the most important principles here in Chapter 1 is the idea of opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is just a way of looking at the cost that we face every day in everything. So when someone tells you it's free, just like our free lunch, it's not free because you've given up time, energy, effort, all of those kind of things that we're looking at. How do people make decisions? And there's a huge category in economics, a subcategory called behavioral economics. And what we know is that in behavioral economics, let me change this up to pen so I can write here a little bit. Okay. In behavioral economics, we know that a person will choose to do a decision or to take an action as long as the benefit of that action outweighs the cost of that action. Once the two become equal, help if I could spell. And I'm just going to do that because it's going to bother me. Okay, once the benefit and the cost become equal, people no longer do it. So why are you sitting through this lecture? Because you believe that the benefit of having this lecture outweighs the cost of the time that you are investing watching this or listening to it. But the minute that the benefit is the same as the cost, you will no longer watch the lectures. So what's the opportunity cost of going to college for a year? And let's look at some examples. Well, you have the cost of tuition, books, and fees. Not room and board. And the reason is because if room and board are the same, you live at home, let's say, while you're attending college, then this is regarded as what we call a sunk cost. If you wanted to look at food, that would also be a sunk cost because you have to eat regardless if you're going to school or not going to school. So we would not include room and board unless there was a difference in the benefit or the cost of that room and board. What about what you would have earned if you were working? Yeah, we have to include that in our decision-making process when we're looking at, does the cost of the action outweigh the benefit, or does the benefit outweigh the cost? All right, so what's your opportunity cost of going to the movies? Again, it might be the time. It might be your spending time studying. Time tends to be a good one. The cost of the movie should be factored into that because you wouldn't be spending that cost if you're at home. Here's an example problem. And this would be what I call challenge problems. And challenge problems you're going to see are the hardest of the hard that I've chosen to use to illustrate particular things and also to give you an idea of what the homework's going to look like. I pre-solve all of these because I'm like, is my pen going to work? Can they hear me? All of those things. So I do pre-solve all of these. So let's take a look at the problem. Considering going to college, she will spend $24,000 on tuition. That's definitely a cost. $12,000 on room and board. That may or may not be a cost, depending on if it's the same. So we're going to put a question mark there. $1,900 on books. Yes, because she wouldn't need those books if she stayed home. So that's also a cost. If she does not go to college, she will earn $16,000 working. So that's income that she's giving up. So that is also kind of a cost. And spends $8,000 on room and board. So because there's a difference between the $12,000 at college, the $8,000 on room and board, we're going to say the difference of those two is actually going to be a cost. So this $12,000, because she'd spend it at college, $8,000 if she didn't go to college. So the difference between those, $12,000 minus your $8,000, ends up being $4,000. So they're asking us, what is the cost of going to college, the opportunity cost? So let's go ahead and start two columns here. We have college and we have work. So for college, we've got the $24,000 for tuition. I'll just put a T there. We have $12,000 for room and board, and we have 1,900 books. Now, a lot of people will just stop here and say, well, that's what it is. No, we also have to look at the highest value of the alternative not taken. Here, 16,000 on pay that she won't get, and $8,000 on room and board. Okay, so if we look at these and we add them up, so she's going to have to pay, right? She's going to earn, so I'm going to put some pluses and minuses here for my accounting friends. And so, wow, that looks terrible. So what do we have here? If we work, we're better off by $8,000. If we go to college, we have, we're going to take this better off by $8,000 and bring it over here to going college because she's losing out on that income. So we're going to $8,000 lost income. And overall, if we look at it and add it up, we get 45,900. So the right answer here would be B is the correct answer. Come on, where are you? There you are. So B is the correct answer. So in looking at these, you want to look at what's the cost versus the benefit, and then say, okay, how much do I earn? Okay, I'm not going to be able to do that, so that becomes part of the equation here. We did see a difference between the room and board, so we had to factor in that difference. Okay. Opportunity cost, very important. So as you move throughout your time for the next objective, think about what the opportunity cost is for you. What's the opportunity cost of waiting in line? What's the opportunity cost? I hate waiting. And when I wait, I think all about the opportunity cost of what I'm doing. I could also be doing X. I could do this. I'm a multitasker. So when I look at those things, that's predominantly why, because opportunity cost is ingrained deeply in me. Okay, so thank you for watching, and I look forward to talking to you about how people interact.